Hello, my motor enthusiasts. Get ready for an adrenaline rush. You're tuned in to F1 Motor Fever podcast.
Hi Enzo, there's a lot of buzz around the 2025 Formula One season, isn't there?
Absolutely, William. Seems like the driver lineups are about to witness some major shakeups.
Oh, is there noise about Sergio Perez leaving Red Bull Racing?
There certainly is, William. Despite his strong finish in 2023, his future hangs in the balance.
And what about Mercedes? Is Lewis Hamilton staying put?
Well, he's signed through 2025, but there's a young Italian gun, Andrea Antonelli, waiting in the wings.
Fresh blood, eh? And what's the situation at Ferrari? Is Charles Leclerc staying on?
He might, along with Carlos Sainz, but let's not forget Alexander Albon and Pierre Gasly. There's no shortage of potential replacements.
Indeed, Enzo. McLaren has been pretty decisive about their vision, haven't they?
They certainly have. They're pinning their hopes on Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. Aston Martin seems to be retaining Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll for 2025, but rumors of a sale are making rounds.
Blimey, seems like an exciting season awaits us on the track.
Hey everyone, this is your host Enzo, steering the conversation here on F1 Motor Fever podcast.
And I'm William, your co-pilot on this thrilling journey.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're always in pole position for our daily chats. Now, let's go full throttle. So, let's delve into the upcoming Formula One season. It's shaping up to be a game of chess, isn't it?
With all the contract uncertainties, it certainly is. Seems like the top teams are potentially making strategic driver changes.
Absolutely. They're prepping for a massive technical rule overhaul in 2026, so the upcoming season plays a crucial role.
And that's why experience might just trump talent in 2025, eh?
Spot on. But let's not forget the emerging talents. Teams would be foolish to overlook them.
A tricky situation for the teams, no doubt. But let's talk about Red Bull Racing. Max Verstappen is on board until 2028, isn't he?
Yes, but all eyes are on Sergio Perez. Despite finishing second in the World Championship in 2023, he hasn't been entirely consistent.
So, it's a make or break season for Perez in 2024, isn't it?
Precisely. But his market appeal, particularly in Mexico, could be a significant factor in securing his future with the team.
And who are the primary contenders vying for Perez's seat?
The frontrunners appear to be Daniel Ricciardo and Liam Lawson. Lawson has been quite impressive in some races during 2023. Now, talking about Alex Albon, his return doesn't seem likely at the moment. However, his performance might just get him another chance to partner with Verstappen.
Interesting. Any other contenders for that seat?
Well, besides Ricciardo and Lawson, who we mentioned earlier, Alexander Albon is another option. And moving on to Mercedes.
Hold on a moment. I didn't quite follow that. Could you explain that another way?
Surely. So Albon might have another chance to be Verstappen's teammate, despite it not seeming very likely at present. Now, if we shift our focus to Mercedes, we see that Lewis Hamilton is on board until 2025. The same goes for his teammate George Russell.
And what about post-2025? Any speculation regarding Hamilton's future with the team?
There's a bit of uncertainty. Hamilton turns 41 in 2026, and it's uncertain whether he'll continue with the team after that. If he departs, there's a chance that promising talent Andrea Antonelli might replace him.
Interesting. And how about Ferrari? Any updates there?
Both Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz are likely to re-sign with Ferrari for at least 2 seasons. Sainz may have concerns about becoming the second driver, given Ferrari's intentions to build a future with Leclerc.
Quite a lot of movements in the drivers' market, isn't it? Let's see how it all evolves.
For those just tuning in, we've been discussing the upcoming 2025 Formula One season. We've talked about the uncertainties around driver contracts, with a focus on Red Bull Racing, Mercedes, and Ferrari.
It's been quite insightful, with all the potential shakeups and strategic decisions.
Indeed. We've discussed Verstappen's secure position with Red Bull until 2028, and Perez's uncertain future despite his market appeal. There's also speculation around a return for Albon.
That's right. And then there's Mercedes.
Correct. Lewis Hamilton and George Russell are set until 2025, but post that there's potential for a shift, possibly involving young talent Andrea Kimi Antonelli.
And let's not forget Ferrari.
Absolutely. Despite no formal confirmation, it looks like Leclerc and Sainz will be re-signing, with a clear intention for Ferrari to build a future around Leclerc.
Quite a lot to look forward to, isn't it?
Undeniably. Now let's continue with the discussion. Continuing on with Ferrari, Alexander Albon and Pierre Gasly are potentially eyeing the chance to take over Sainz's seat. The uncertainty around contract negotiations with Sainz and Leclerc might just fuel these rumors.
The transfer market really gets heated when contract negotiations linger, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Moving on to McLaren, we see a clear long-term strategy from Andrea Stella and Zach Brown. Both Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri have extended contracts through 2025 and 26 respectively. They seem to have set a solid foundation for success.
McLaren has always had a visionary approach. Let's hope it pays off in the coming seasons.
At Aston Martin, Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll are expected to return in 2025. However, rumors are afoot about a potential change in ownership, with Aramco being mentioned as a possible buyer. It'll be interesting to see how that develops.
Yes, it's surprising how business decisions can potentially impact the driver's lineup.
And lastly, at Alpine, both Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon might see their contracts expiring. Despite Gasly having an option in his contract to continue, Ocon's future seems less certain.
This is what makes Formula One so exciting. It's not just about what happens on the track.
Couldn't agree more. And to our lovely audience, isn't the world of Formula One just fascinating? The adrenaline, the competitiveness, the strategy behind the scenes, all of it adds to the thrill. What's your take? Are you as captivated as we are? We'd love to hear your thoughts. But for now, let's press on. Turning our attention back to Alpine, Ocon will have his work cut out for him this year. Going up against Gasly, who scored more points in his debut year, Ocon will need to make a strong case to extend his contract with Alpine.
It's certainly a tough road ahead for Ocon.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Gasly might be setting his sights on an opening at Ferrari, but as we know, the Scuderia seems to have its eyes set on retaining its current lineup.
It's all about timing in Formula One, isn't it?
Certainly. Moving on to Williams, both Alex Albon and Logan Sargent will see their contracts expire at the end of 2024. Albon will likely look for a step up, but with limited options available at Ferrari or Red Bull, it's unexpected at this point.
I'd say Albon has impressed at Williams, though.
Indeed. Despite performing well, the question remains whether he can secure a seat with a top team. Meanwhile, at Williams, they're also considering future prospects. There are whispers that Kimi Antonelli may move straight to Formula One if he performs well in Formula 2.
That would undoubtedly be a game changer for Williams.
A bold move indeed. This speculation only increases the pressure on Sargent before the season has truly begun. It's clear that the 2025 season is shaping up to be highly intriguing. Over at AlphaTauri, it looks like Red Bull's talent, Liam Lawson, could possibly secure a seat in 2025. The New Zealander has been impressive in his debut races and is seen as a likely candidate to fill the gap when Daniel Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda's contracts expire.
Lawson's been showing great potential, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Ricciardo, it seems, is hopeful of a return to Red Bull, while Tsunoda has to prove his worth to both Christian Horner and Helmut Marko. The rising star Ayumu Iwasa is also being linked to AlphaTauri, thanks to Honda's interest in pushing Iwasa's career.
Yes, it's clear that Tsunoda will have his work cut out for him.
Moving on to Stake F1 team, Valtteri Bottas and Guan Yu Zhou are likely to part ways with the team at the end of the season. For 2025, the team's sights seem set on Nico Hülkenberg, hoping he would play a crucial role in the transition phase with Audi.
Hülkenberg's experience could indeed be invaluable for the team during this transition. Let's just wait and see how these developments unfold.
As we delve into the specifics of Stake F1, it seems that the team is still undecided about their 2025 lineup. Despite Nico Hülkenberg being a prominent candidate, the second seat remains a question mark. The team faces a choice between an experienced driver or a rising talent.
That's an interesting situation. It's a balance between reliability and potential.
Indeed, options include Bottas and Zhou from the experienced pool and a plethora of young talents. However, nothing is set in stone, and both Audi and the team still have time to decide.
There's definitely a lot to ponder for the Stake F1 team.
Moving on to Haas F1, after disappointing performances by Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin, the team chose Nico Hülkenberg and Kevin Magnussen, but didn't see a major improvement. With Hülkenberg likely leaving, Oliver Behrman emerges as a strong contender for a seat in 2025.
Behrman's performance in Formula 2 will be crucial for his chances.
Absolutely. Moreover, his position as a Ferrari Academy driver could give him an edge, considering Haas's relationship with Ferrari. Alongside a rookie like Behrman, an experienced driver would be ideal, so Magnussen might still secure his contract, or perhaps even Bottas if he doesn't renew with Stake F1 team.
That's certainly a lot of movement on the grid. I can't wait to see how it all unfolds.
William, why not have a peek at what the online community is saying about this whole Steiner situation?
Good idea, Enzo Watts. Let's see. Here's a comment from Jovan Miller. Quote, Helmut Marko about Steiner. All I heard was that he wanted to convert his popularity into shares in the team, and owner Gene Haas didn't like that anymore. It is also the case in our sport that the team always comes before the individual. Steiner became a victim of his popularity. Unquote.
Interesting. Got any responses to that?
Yes, a certain Yoda chimed in, quote, Steiner is a businessman, and expecting shares for what he has done over the years is not totally unjustified. Of course, it's on Gene Haas to decide whether to offer him that or not. We'll see how this team is run without Steiner this year, unquote.
He's got a point. Any others?
Professor Kunt, quote, and it also helps that Horner is a competent leader, unquote. And then a user named Die Dungeon added, quote, and is one of two team principals to lead a relatively new championship-winning team over the past 13 years, unquote.
That's a fair observation, considering the recent Red Bull Racing domination. Anything else?
There's an interesting exchange between two users, Professor Kunt and Illogical Hawk. Professor Kunt argues, quote, a team principal's role also includes securing funding, so how is your argument also not a reflection on Steiner's leadership? Partnering with Rich Energy and Ural Kali, bringing along an underperforming, problematic rookie driver, were poor decisions, unquote. To this, Illogical Hawk countered with, quote, not sure why you're so adamant about your view on Steiner, given you seem to not know any of the context behind the things you're bringing up, unquote.
Well, there's certainly no shortage of opinions out there. It's clear that the Steiner situation has caused quite a stir. We've reached the checkered flag for today's episode of F1 Motor Fever podcast. It was a lively discussion, unraveling from last week's race to the future of the F1 grid. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you've enjoyed the ride as much as we did. Remember, your interaction means a lot to us. So go ahead, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share our podcast with fellow F1 enthusiasts. And don't shy away from commenting. Let's keep the conversation going.
Absolutely, Enzo Watts. From discussing tyre choices to analysing team strategies, we've covered all the turns on the track today. And remember, we'll be revving our engines for another exciting episode tomorrow, so don't miss it. You never know what you might miss on F1 Motor Fever podcast.
Indeed, William Turner. Pedal to the metal, keep your gaze on the road. Our channel's content is pure gold. We're grateful for your company today, and we can't wait to welcome you back for the next episode. Until then, take care.
And don't forget, no matter what happens on the track, it's all part of the thrill of Formula One. See you next time, folks.